Good day, good afternoon, good evening, or not, wherever you've been allowing your mindset to play. I'm Tracy A. Martin, hypnotherapist practitioner, life guide intuitive here at Opening Doors Productions, and I have with me the beautiful Dreamer Divine. Would you love to say hi?
Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited for today's chat.
So, episode number 9. I thank you all of you viewers out there that are taking what you need, leaving the rest behind. Some of you that can't handle sitting in it and have left, I love you. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, always on purpose. The hardest feelings, thoughts that we will have to sit in will feel uncomfortable only because of your mindset, because you have been allowing comfortably to live a lie for a very, very long time so that you don't have to change. And that's just naturally what the ego does. It loves control. It loves to create problems so that it can give the solution to you and pat yourself on the back when you are calm and you are observing. Many people become bored, and that is a big thing that many people have been reaching out to me about. And so there wasn't one question brought in this week, but I've had many people the last while coming to see me. So it's always seeing how the consciousness is working. So today, with Dreamer Divine, we are going to be talking about relationships and the various degrees, levels of a relationship, not just your intimate relationships, because that's physical, how people see it, but I'm talking relationships, period. Every person that you are in contact with, you are making love with. This is your idea of love or lack that you are having in that reciprocal moment. And so this podcast today has to do with relationships, the do's, the don'ts, that can help you sit in it to see what you have been playing, because it has been a projection that has been a broken mind trap for millennia upon millennia. And where are these relationships heading? And many of you are feeling in the drudges right now, and that's why so many of you are reaching out. And it's because everything that you thought is showing such illusion through it now. And that's because many of you who are awakening, becoming more and more aware, you're seeing the falsities, the distortions. And this is where I want you all to be today, to sit in it. So I'm going to begin with you. We know that the relationship we have with ourselves is the very beginning, concrete groundwork of how we end up projecting out into source and back to us because of what's going on inside. And so where I want to go from that was I'm going to be speaking with Dreamer Divine, and what we want to know, if you feel like sharing, is who were you a year ago, 2 years ago? And what was it that changed within you to finally accept or start being or understanding or understanding? Dream or divine?
So, yeah, that's a huge question. um, I think once I took the 8-week course, I began to dig really deep into myself, and I got to meet myself again. I got to dig into the layers and the layers that was me, and who I thought was me, and who I sometimes pretended to be, who I changed to be. It was so many different layers of who I thought I was, who I thought I needed to be for other people. So to me, the best way to describe it is like a lotus flower. how there's so many different layers and petals, and we're constantly blooming and growing and growing. And so when I went in, I had learned some things about myself and some not so good things and some amazing things, but it was all layers that I had to bring up and deal with and forgive. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive others. And from that, I I came began a whole new relationship with myself. It was like meeting myself all over again and knowing at that point and growing that I knew who I wanted to be going forward, because what I was before didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. So I wanted to be whole. I wanted to be living on purpose. And that is the whole point of the course, is to help with living on purpose and being on purpose in every moment and every minute. And so I'd learned that a lot of that had to do with relationships and what we were taught and what we learned from previous generations and family members and influences. And so you take bits and pieces of every part of a relationship and you turn that into what you think something should be, instead of feeling, is that right? Is that love? Is that not love? And now moving forward from, I'd say, yeah, 2 years ago, I've learned so much about myself and learned that I'm amazing and I am beautiful. And I now absolutely love the person that I'm constantly growing into every new moment, because that's what it is. I can't say right now because I'm going to be another person in the next moment that I have an interaction with somebody else. I'm going to be a new person, as long as I'm coming from a place of love. And that's huge. And honestly, when it comes to any relationship, it doesn't have to, like you said, it doesn't have to be an intimate relationship. It can be family members, friends, anything, colleagues, stuff like that. When you observe the relationship for what it is and what it's worth, you get to decide. You get to decide from your heart if that feels good and you want to continue that relationship based on what you're willing to tolerate. And that's where healthy boundaries come in. Absolutely. And so, yeah, from then to now, I'm just still constantly learning and growing, but I'm also constantly falling in love with myself. And to me, that's just beautiful.
Dreamer Divine, that's absolutely beautiful. You are so beautiful. And, all of you viewers out there, knowing there's always the moment where you decide, you just, it's that moment. Was there catalyst that brought you up to it? Was there the space of standing and knowing you want to love yourself more? What was it that actually brought you to that space of going, you know what, it's time? What was that for you, Dreamer Divine?
Uh, Knowing that I had hit a very dark place in my life and I knew that it didn't feel good anymore. And I knew that something needed to change. I needed to change who I was and who I wanted to be. I didn't feel good in where I was sitting. It was a very low vibration, and I knew that I needed help and I needed to get out of that. And so just stepping actually just realizing it and just acknowledging it and knowing that you want to change or you want something to change is the first step. Knowing that you want to change, and then that from there just changes everything.
So, if I could ask you, Dawn, Dreamer Divine, if I could ask you what it was that you realized was inside you that you projected onto all the relationships, what was the lack of love that you realized you really had to sit in?
For me, the biggest word to describe what it was control. I had, I thought, because I was an independent person for so long, that I thought that I had to control everything and that everything I controlled would be perfect as long as it was my way or my conditions or how I did things. And so once I realized that I needed to let go of control over everything, over relationships, over money, over over how I was as a mom and a wife and and a friend, that I couldn't control anything. So when I let go of control, that's when everything changed.
And in your intimate relationships, we know they all are, but the actual physical, intimate relationship with your husband, how did that change the moment you started living from love instead of what love is not?
It became it became more harmonic, if that's a better word for it. It became more in the flow, and the communication lines opened, because when you let go of control, you allow that person to be who they are instead of trying to control them to think that they need to be who you think that they are. They get to be themselves, and everything just starts to flow, and the communication is beautiful once you're open and not trying to get them to basically say what you think they should say. They get to speak for themselves, and it opens up their heart center, and they get to feel heard and be seen, and you allow that communication to be respectful on both sides.
That's awesome. And now, after being through this deep 8 weeks and now and continuing, because we know all of you who show up after you've graduated and you're in that life group and you're continually wanting to remain centered in what love is, how you're showing up on purpose, living whole on purpose, and how we will have you, for instance, sit in certain weeks or certain videos you're guided to, or certain hypnosis audios in order to help you when you feel like you're needing strengthening. And now, what is control to you?
Now control is just a word that has a very low vibrational feeling behind it. And you know that you can't control anything. You literally cannot control anything or anyone. There's no such thing.
And so from there, I want to platform off of there. So we know that the 3D avatar, all these illusions that would have been continually projected, repetition becomes the program of what you're running. And that's why so many of you, and when you look, and the hardest part usually is looking at all the people you believe you love and not wanting to find a fault in them. And that's the lies that you have been speaking to yourself so that you don't have to do anything to change it. And many of you, when you start understanding what kind of attributes everyone brought to you, what not so great attributes they brought to find out that has been your whole idea of love. And you have to take ownership and realize you have been allowing so much lack of love to be your idea of what love is, because that's really how the subconscious plays out. You realize, oh my God, control is just fear. And you realize the insecurity behind it. And, stemming off of some of our episodes that were around narcissism, we understand that narcissists or the narcissistic traits are severe insecurity. And that's why they'll show themselves to everyone or just to certain people that they have deemed. And you can see it start, for instance, when you have little children that are starting to have play groups, and they start in kindergarten or grade 1 and grade 2, and you'll see certain people that want to single people out and not let them be shared with anyone else. And that has to do with already them believing they need to control someone else because of their fear of losing them. And it starts to roll forward, even roll forward more. And so in this episode, this is, the relationship do's that build beautiful relationships. And it's number one, starting with you. So we know that all of us here at Opening Doors Productions, it's, the 5 bases that we continually sit in and strive to be who we are in. And the number one is responsible. And when we're responsible to ourselves and create that responsibility relationship with ourselves first, the honor that comes out of being responsible is such a beautiful place to be. Because the moment you own everything you're thinking, feeling, saying, doing, only can you begin to be able to observe it then. Because it's so easy to want to blame everything outside of you of why you're having such a shitty day or why you're allowing someone to continually be a piece of crap. And or oh my god, the more loving that I am to myself, oh my god, the more beautiful relationships I'm beginning to have that are so loving and kind. Well, of course it is. What are you ebbing out? We know everything inside. So first, being responsible and understanding responsible is not serious, again, because that's another broken mind trap that made everyone believe that it's not fun to be responsible. You're responsible by taking ownership of everything, every card that you laid. You played it. There's no takebacks. You took it and you laid it down. The action is the next that we are in being able to build that relationship of yourself. And the more you're the action of being loving, kind, giving what it is that you are needing to yourself, when you can be loving and kind and giving and respectful of yourself and honoring and talk to yourself gently and beautifully, that's where that whole honor starts coming in and that respect. So you start building this beautiful base inside of what's going on, being able to become open minded so that you can really take the egoic mind that was driving your car into the back seat, because they're five, they're still in a booster seat, they don't have to be driving your car. The more open minded you become, the less need to be in control and know you become, because the more open minded you are, as any of you are understanding and understanding in this awareness process, is that you know nothing. And the more and more you start to learn and absolutely unlearn or relearn and remember, you realize you know nothing, and you just have that drive to know more and experience more. And that makes the heart expand even more. And that's where many of you are right now, where it's just that knowingness instead of having that rigid belief, which is again around that fear base and that lack of love. Because someone who believes they are super intelligent and they have to say it to you, you know they're projecting it because they're trying to believe it. And there's no such thing as super intelligent, because true infinite intelligence is endless, it's limitless, it's infinite. So the most intelligent people are the ones tuned in, knowing everything is possible, not only because it's beyond the reaches of your 3D construct, not even a tenth of your brain, to knowing anything has a potential in everything. So why would you leave out anything? So we get into the next part, which has to do about the investment of you into you. And this is the remembering of worth. Many of you have been taught for millennia upon millennia, generationally, ancestrally, stuck in the cell memory banks about unworthiness. And you know that that's going to continually project itself back to you, because you send it out, the receiver brings it back. That's just giving and receiving of those signals or frequencies and vibrations, and that's what you're getting back. And only when you can observe and see how you aren't living in that place of worthiness can you start doing something to become the action and changing it, of taking that responsibility on again, of owning, oh my God, I have been so awful to myself. I have been so disrespectful. I have not honored myself in any way, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And this is the whole relationship build that comes into that. So if you want to see a structure, I know some people want to see a structure that they can write down. What are the do's? What are the do nots? So the first thing that we would say in a relationship, number one, is there needs to be communication. The failure to communicate will always end a relationship on any level, whether it's with a friend, whether it's a colleague, whatever you give it as a quotation of what you've decided to compartmentalize whatever relationship with. If there is no communication, then you are living in lack. Lack of love communicates freely, openly, real, raw, authentically. That is what love is. What love is not, or do not, is people categorizing the fact that they think communicating is all about fear of confrontation. This whole society, especially now because of text messaging, where nobody actually speaks. And I'll tell you again, I actually had watched Sex in the City the other day, and there's a part in it where she gets broke up by a post-it note. And that when we were, I'm aging myself for some of you out there, but there was no text messaging yet, but there was emails, or people would, break up over the phone. They couldn't do it in person because of their lack, period, of who they are. When someone doesn't know how to respect themselves or honor themselves, how are they going to be able to be that to you? And so you will always see your level of relationship depending on you and that person you're involved in. And this is what's happening on a grand scale right now, because many of you are becoming the kings and queens again, the gods and goddesses, knowing what love really is. Love is not disrespectful. Love is not dishonor. Love is honor. Love is respect. Love is communication. Love is interest. Love is integrity. Love is responsible. Love is the action of being it in action, not just thinking about it, the doing and being of it. The communication starts always, and it's never by word. Communication, the moment that two people are electromagnetically attracted in some form of a relation, there was something that drew you to each other. There's a likeness that is mirroring back to you. So the first form of communication is body language, because you could be deaf or mute or blind. And do you need to talk? No, it's all of it. It's using all those five senses. It's all those feeling points of touching. It is talking. It is how they're standing and the closeness or the off, the arms folded or the openness. This is all communication that people are picking up on and subliminally feeding off of. If you don't have communication, then you have to start somewhere. And it's letting go of the lack that you have been living in for so long, because there's no such thing as fear. You have a choice of either being love or lack of love. And that is where people have coined it fear instead of lack. It has been of what it is not. And all it is the understanding what do you want? How do you want to be treated? And write it down on your list. So you can sit in it and understand fully, what are you looking for as attributes in what you will tolerate or allow a relationship to be. The more you start really, really loving who you are, I have zero interest in spending any of my energy or time in something that does not bring a fulfillment in that whole level. Because then you're wasting that person's time and you're wasting your time. And then taking something personally comes in, having an expectation around it comes in, or having a judgment on it comes in. Communication, being in love with the art of communication is so amazing, because, oh my God, do you learn so much about someone, and it's how they're communicating to you. Do you have someone who really has an interest in wanting to have a conversation with you, or do you see them looking off everywhere else instead of actually wanting to hear what's going on? This is the biggest base point for everything, and what starts to come along with when you first start communicating on all aspects, the next thing that starts to happen is trust. trust becomes a very major part of the next part of do's. If you have trouble trusting someone, it is all inside. So it's sitting in, why do you not trust yourself? Dreamer Divine, would you like to weigh in on these first two with communication becoming trust?
Communication is definitely huge. I think even in any relationship, you can't assume that the other person knows how you're feeling or what you're thinking. And so communicating that to them and honestly, openly, and letting them know like that you're not trying to hurt their feelings, but just this is just how I feel. I'm not don't take this, don't take this the wrong way, but this is how I feel and I feel that you should know this. And so starting things like that and opening the lines of communication is definitely huge because it lets the other person know when they may not, instead of always on an attack or always the other person being on defense attack, defense attack. And then you're constantly getting out of taking everything personally and actually listening to how they feel and acknowledging their feelings. And so communication is definitely it is huge. And then when you move through the communication and you feel heard, that's when you start to trust the person even more because you know that they're coming from a place of love and they're being 100% honest with you about their feelings. And then that takes it to another level because you trust them because you know that they're being honest. And I believe honesty and trust go hand in hand because that is an amazing feeling as well.
Where do you think that the moment, from your perspective, between you and your husband's relationship now, where do you see the growth has happened? And we all know that the hardest time to really be present is when you're ready to react. And those are triggers on there on purpose for you to break through. And so, what tools did have you used in order to be able to break through the old program into a brand new idea of how the relationship communication works, Dream or Divine?
It's definitely the three major things is like I said, do not take anything personally, knowing that whatever they say is on them and it's their responsibility to speak words and know that they're accountable for what they say, that they can't take it back. So you taking it personally is not going to change anything. It's just going to put a rift in the communication. And so when that happens and you may take it personally, definitely taking a step back and just observing either how that person is feeling at the time. You need to observe the situation. There's so many factors that can play into those things, like how that person's day went and what happened during that whole day. Did they have a horrible interaction with somebody else and they're just bringing it into your current conversation or your current situation? And even then, if you stop and don't react to it, you can let them, I wouldn't say vent, or let them say what they need to say and not react, and know that it's not on you. It has nothing to do with you. It could have been something else. And then when you don't react and you don't say anything, it's almost like they stop and take a step back and realize it most of the time when you have open communication, that you just kind of look at them and, okay, are you done? are we ready to move forward? We're just, and so that's definitely helped majorly when you can stop the reaction mode and just go into observation.
And love is always responding from a place of how you would want to be honored or respected. And that has been the greatest thing that I have watched so many people grow into, is because communication is key. The next thing that really starts to come into play, and this is worldwide, and we'll talk about the male aspect or the God aspect and the goddess and the feminine aspect in this. And so complacency, the biggest do not, without actively showing up on purpose. Complacency is another relationship killer. The moment you believe you've attained something, or we'll take it even deep and attained ownership on something, which is the male aspect, mental planes, has all been around the chase, and then they get it and they believe they get it. They believe they have it and it's theirs. And then they kind of put you on a shelf like some kind of trophy and don't even remember to have honor, respect, or even dust off that trophy. And they believe in some way that you now own them or you've attained it and you're doing nothing to keep it nurtured. This is many of you that are on this plane right now because 3D doesn't get to stay with you in the 5D, in the new earth realm, the evolved love human. Not playing out the lack, not playing out the duality, not playing out ownership. Relationships were created to create oppression in these mental emotional planes of existence, and they're being cleared out now. So guess what? The more light that is shone on it, the more it's right in front of your face, and you're either going to do something about it or you're not. But I'm here to tell you the reason so many people are going through divorce or leaving at this point is because they have a brand new level of honor and respect for themselves. You can only disrespect something for so long before they completely are broken and they leave the sign, or they leave. And we're seeing this happen. Complacency, when you don't think that you have to show up in any relationship, that is why things fall to the wayside. Now, there's showing up on purpose, and we're going to go deeper with this now. There's people who show up on purpose, and it's not complacency anymore, it's becoming too comfortable because you're playing a repeat, and that is why so many people are bored and are starting to look outside of their relationships because they need stimulation. They want passion. Love is passion. Love is drive. Love is entertainment. Love is an experience. And many people start to get caught up in that time loop of the same old, same old, same old, right? They do their work day, they come home and they sit on the couch and watch TV, or they're on their phone, and there's zero communication, interaction, presenting tangible, moldable relationship time. And that's what makes relationships grow. It's happening on many of you. Many of you catch yourself in it yourself. When you're not showing up on purpose, then you are becoming the consumer instead of the creator. You feel joy when you are creating something. It could be just getting up and going for a walk. And guess what happens? It could be completely quiet, and the communication, the two of you feel in unity. You could even just be holding hands and not a word is spoken. But that unity in the connection with all that is so inspiring. The art of listening to hear Dreamer Divine talked with in there, knowing that whatever they had coming in, whatever your day was, the moment you two are in that relationship, if you're not showing up whole on purpose for each other, what can you do to get there, to get each other back there? And that is, for instance, in my relationship with my hubby right now, we have, if he needs to ground himself out from what's going on with the day, then, that's where you're listening to hear. There's really nothing I'm going to be able to say to him because I'm not him in his shoes. If he asks me for what would I do, or what do you think of this? How does it feel to you? I'll respond. But other than that, I just want him to get it out, to get his day out, and then I will say, what do you feel like focusing on that makes you feel good now? Easiest way to change the situation instantly, right? And I'll text my husband throughout the day because he's on the phone all the time. So for us to actually have phone calls, which are my favorite, is talking, because communicating, you can feel the energy and compared to the text message. And I fall short in texting because I just want to get it delivered. Because if you really want to talk to me, it's the time. He's in a place where he's on the phone a very almost all day long. And so I will, because I love him and I want to send to him little hints. Again, it's like, hey, I'm prettier then that phone call, get back to 5D, right? A reason for him to smile, or some kind of silly little, gif or meme or something that can just get him to get back into his play. Why? Because I love him, because I respect and honor him, and I want him to be as happy as I am. If he could even feel that, right? Because we know what you feel is completely different what other people's feel around words, whatever. But love is nurturing, building up, supporting. If you're not doing that, you need to sit in why you can't be that first to yourself. Because I will actually send text messages to my own phone, to build myself up and go, Team Tracy, you got this, because when you are your greatest cheerleader, you've got it. And so the next part of from communication, feeling that trust, which then starts creating that respect and that honor, right? And to take you out of any form of complacency or that circle of over and over and over again, which does become consuming, to constantly be the creator in your relationship. When you can sit in, if all of you would love to do this, every relationship you have with your closest friends that you have in your life right now, some may be from childhood. A lot of you don't have that anymore because of where you're going in this awakening, where you have no interest in anymore. So the moment there's no more reciprocal nourishment, you'll always love them, but there's just nothing there to create with. There's nothing wrong with that. And this is where we're moving into and evolving into, of the real, authentic relationship of where you are right now in your frequency, in your vibration. It doesn't matter what kind of label you stuck on it, if it was around parents or any form of family, friends, lovers, husbands, colleagues, animal, children, everybody, everyone that you've given some kind of label with, that you've decided that you've put in a compartment of what they are for you. If there is no you showing up in there and creating that nurturing environment, if it's not coming back to you, or that fulfillment or electromagnetic stimulation, it's leaving, because you are evolving into whatever you're becoming as they are going on their journey of where they're going. And it should always be honored and respected on both sides. When we see, when people, talk about cancer, and that control, that complacency, that lack, that zero worth, that poverty mind, that all the lack of loves that you've had your whole life, is of course part of that relationship. And many of you are finally starting to break through them, because the energies that are coming in continually are changing the consciousness. It's becoming lighter and lighter. Many of these planes that I'll talk about, so they had continually these feeds of certain vibrations, which we would pick up on as a form of a thought or a feeling. And they're being cleared out as more and more light happens to hit what's been distorted, that was false, what was deceptive. It disintegrates, absolutely transforming back into love light, because there is only love light. That is all there is. Darkness is a falsity. Darkness, there is no darkness. We have no thing that creates the thing. We are creators on purpose. So to understand that every form of limitation you've then put on what a relationship should be, should therefore start expanding. Because when you love yourself more, deeper, you're going in deeper, and you're rising higher, and you can't help but start loving everyone on even more of an intimate level, not physically intimate. It could be a mental connection, an emotional like some form of a connection, or spiritual connection, or physical, or all four. And that's what's starting to happen, many of you. So Why are you everywhere exactly on purpose? And what are you choosing or not choosing to be in that moment is the relationship. So, Dreamer Divine, would you like to talk about what you felt were hardships then, which you understand or understand now, the new relationships in your life?
Definitely when it comes to immediate family, it's a huge one because it's you develop what you think a relationship is supposed to be between siblings or between parents and children and everything like that. And then when you get to understand why people act the way they do, or what happens in order to create a catalyst for you, it becomes a teach, learn, teach situation. And with every interaction, you start to, when you're open to it and when you see it and observe it for what it is, you start to learn why those people are acting the way that they are, or why they're lashing out the way they are, or why they are bringing to you something that you need to learn or work through for yourself as well. And so definitely sibling relationships sometimes can be hard because you may, or I'm sorry, I felt that I needed to fill a certain role for somebody or be a certain person for that relationship, and I had to learn that it's not my job. It's not, I can't save anyone. It's all up to them to make their own decisions. I can only love them and wish them whole, and that is it. I can't force them to do anything. I can't force my opinions and ideas upon them, thinking that they're going to listen and do what I say. And that goes back to the control, right? And thinking that you can control someone and how they act and how they respond, when all you can do is really send them love and let them feel the love and know the love. And where they choose to make their decisions after that is completely on them.
Thank you so much. I hope this helps so many of you as you're sitting and seeing different perspectives. Um, I love, I love how everyone is so colorful and their ideas of how to reciprocate love. And when we can sit in what my idea of love was, it love? Or was that lack? That is probably such the greatest stepping stone place. But it's only when you're willing to sit in it, make it tangible, feel it. What's the real feeling you're really feeling in it? That will stem to you why you have the relationships you do. And like I have said, you do not need to heal your inner child. That's the biggest lie out there, as if it's all your inner child's fault and as if your inner child was always needing healing. That is a lack mentality, and that's a broken mind trap. You are, from the moment you were in the womb, growing and changing, ever changing. From the birthing process to being the baby infant to the toddler to the little child to the young adult to the aging adult, whatever you've given it, every stage and age of the way has been you then, and only in that captured moment, and then you're brand new in the next breath again. So the biggest catch that happens in a relationship is who you believed you had to be to someone else, because that's what they expected from you. And the moment you start respecting yourself and allowing yourself to grow continually as the creator that you are, continually creating who you want to be, it could be a brand new idea of a wardrobe that you want to have as the creator that you are, because you're ready for a brand new experience. If someone has an issue with that, it is only because they were used to something being the same. And every one of you that have done any level of work within yourself on any level, the moment that you begin changing, it will only be those that have been stuck in their own broken mind traps of an expectation of you or a judgment of you, or take it personally the moment you're not bringing something to them, that will have an issue. Your biggest supporters are always going to be the people that you want to be around, because those like-minded, beautiful, loving souls will always only want to support whatever you're making a choice in that moment. And I'm going to say that straight across the board. It is not up to me if someone's going to choose to start smoking cigarettes or drinking or doing drugs or especially, the narcotic prescription drugs, which many people are caught into because of these mental traps, these broken mind traps that make everyone believe they have something mental wrong with them. Everyone wants to sign up because they want to be a part of it so they can all say that there's something wrong with them. No different than, again, people who believe they have to tell you the worst stories in their life when they're talking about birth because every pregnant mom wants to hear that. Where's the support, the building up, knowing that your experience is completely yours and nobody else's because of what you felt, what you know, whatever, and you stop talking about that story? Guess what? Does that make you not have a life anymore? Or are you reliving something in the past so now you're not actually living in life now? Relationships is all in you first, projecting forward. And where are we moving? As we're letting go, as Source naturally will, just bring into your brand new awareness whatever is supposed to be there on purpose. Have you thought about someone and all of a sudden you run into them and it's been 20 some years? On purpose. Because they're bringing something to you. Everything is divine on purpose. It is so amazing what's happening in the background of the whole of consciousness continually to get those new interception points and everyone there to be there on purpose. Which brings me to the newest part of what's happening with many people. I have many people because the amount of solar flares that are, or we call them solar jumps, that are coming from our sun into our earth plane. We are one. We are consciousness. We're all evolving. And last week there was over 24 just in one day. These are timeline jumps, which are moving into brand new levels of consciousness for those who are ready. There's many, multiple timelines playing out, multitudinous amounts. And wherever you are ready, because of your focus point, is where you're going to start playing in. So for instance, I had a client get a hold of me. Her husband and her have been together 24 years. They were grocery shopping. She's pushing her cart and she looks off to the right at her husband and realizes she doesn't know him at all. There was zero feeling there. So she started to panic. And she didn't realize in her panic, to the degree she was panicking, and she started putting a whole bunch of salad dressings into her cart. So her husband noticed and said, "What are you doing? Why do we need 10 salad dressings?" And so he went over and started putting them up, and he's looking at her because she's looking at him and she's feeling like she had amnesia or something, realizing, I don't know who this man is. And she was able to pull herself into the calmness and observe what is going on here. And those are timeline jumps that are happening to all of you right now. And so suddenly, relationships you thought were the most amazing to you are suddenly ended out of nowhere. It's because you are all moving on to new realities of where you're projecting to. It is always good and it's always on purpose. Many people's relationships are ending because you signed in contract to get yourself to a certain degree or point. And from there, then there is a no thing after that because you're ready for the next thing. This is happening with your relationship with everything. People's careers of what they thought or jobs, everything where they're feeling a nothingness. There's zero connection anymore. Welcome to a brand new reality where you get to be the creator and allow the next thing to come forward. Are every one of you right now feeling a place of emptiness? Many of you are. Many of you have been asking me, I've done a lot of sessions in here. Doesn't matter what age, from child to teenager to young adult to adult, it doesn't matter. People are feeling a nothingness where they have zero interest, zero passion. They're feeling blah, a numbness. This is happening on a grand scale because guess what? You're ready for the new thing. Or you'd still have an invested want in it because that's what your focus is. This is the relationships that we're talking about that are becoming brand new relationships with yourself and who you're choosing to create next. You know, when you talk about people who are playing games online and stuff like that, and they can create their avatar and they can change them all the time. How many of you actually take the time to continually change your avatar for something you want? What do you want to skill up in? What do you have? And if you have no drive in that right now, which many people in this 3D plane are right now, it's because you're done with 3D. You're done with the illusions, the deception, the manipulation, the disgust. You're done with it. You don't even want the t-shirt because you know you've had and worn that for a very, very long time. And that is a great place, because in the no space, in that 0 point, is where the brand new beginning is from. So let go of going to the place of fear or scared of change, because that's the next major part, is allowing change for growth. This is first got to be inside you, and then it happens reciprocally. You allowing yourself to continually change, because you have been since the moment the egg and sperm connected. You've changed and you've come a long way, I'm going to say to you, compared to who you are right here, right now. So get out of your broken mind the idea that nothing should change, because this is another relationship between the female male aspect that the male or the God aspect had embedded for a very, very long time, that he has you and he doesn't want you to change. The nurturing, the goddess aspect naturally knows everything is growing, evolving, changing continually, or you'd stay the seed that never ever became fertilized to grow. And so it has to be the first understanding of knowing you have been changing every second, every millisecond of your life, and that's what growing on purpose is. And the day you go home, you grew up in that avatar and that beautiful physicalness, back to the all that is of who you are. So love and embrace the change. Only people who can handle and embrace each other's changing moments of their brand new ideas, of their brand new, what they're trying now here, and being able to support each other, creates a very stable, beautiful, loving relationship, because there's no one trying to control another. And what I want you to sit in, if you're having a problem with people changing, is why do you not like what they've changed into? And if you don't, let them go. That's what healthy, beautiful, loving relationship boundaries are all about. It's about being honored, being respected, being trusted, being important. Commitment is our next. So, Dreamer Divine, when you really, really sit in your focus moments in the day, when do you feel the greatest? When you are doing that focus work, what is it that you start to feel when you truly start honoring, loving yourself? And where have you been sitting lately to really, really bring in those feelings for yourself?
I feel like when I get to a point of overwhelm or feeling triggered or chaos, which can happen, to everybody all the time, when you feel that, you need to make sure to give yourself compassion and give space for yourself first, because you can't expect that from anybody else until you're able to do that for yourself. And so I think once you go to that focus point, and for me, it's just nature, and more nature. The sunshine, the trees, the everything is just gives you that moment of gratitude, and to see and experience the beauty in everything around you. And then when you go to that focus point, you back in your heart center again, and from there it just feels beautiful and grateful and blessed. And when you take yourself back to that point, you can almost restart and in the next moment you can restart from there. And so going and centering yourself and calming yourself and going back to your heart center is huge when you're feeling overwhelmed. And then you can start again and take your next step, and then you're coming from a place of love rather than a place of chaos or triggered or whatever. And so that, I think, is so much easier to do. And especially when you breathe and you feel your breath, and then you start to calm yourself down and slow yourself down, and it brings you back to that point of pure gratitude and love. And that's always the most beautiful place to be, always.
And that's truly the art of being the observer, the witness, because the only way you can get yourself out of that moment is to step back and observe it. And then you naturally start to be the superpower again. That I will tell you, the biggest superpower right now is calm, is the centered point back into all that you are. And it is. If I ask all of you right now, because I know we only have a few moments left in our hour here, if I ask you all right now, what could be going on in the hamster wheel here? But when you feel it here, you know there's a calmness, yet an excitement, and you don't know what yet for, because your highest self knows. The all that you are on the greatest degree and level, with where all of your guardians, guides, your whole team are, is all in the centered heart of the universe of all that you are. And they know grand things are coming your way. And so the biggest, greatest thing I want you to understand is to let go of giving an attachment to something. Stay focused on the relationship with you first. Know that everyone that you fall in love with, your idea of that connection of love, what that is to you, is that person and yours alone. And it should be considered like a sanctuary of its own. It should have the greatest respect for as long as it's bringing it, minute, moment, or lifetime. So really stimulate yourself in your relationship divinely of who you are. Show up for yourself always. Be the focus point of here I am now. Here I am now. Here I am now. And everything is going to start really, really broadcasting back to you, them showing up here now. And the tiniest things that may be said that you would never would have caught because you showed up on purpose and you heard or felt or saw the movement in them that made you feel even more of a draw, or okay, I love them, I wish them well, I'm just not interested in them writing in my story. Relationship with yourself has to always be first. What you want for yourself, what you want for all others, is the only way you'll be able to nurture that. I love you all. I thank you so much, Dreamer Divine, for being here today and sharing from your perspective how much growth that you decided to delve into and how you love creating who you are now. I sure enjoy you in my space. Do you have any words you'd like to say to all of our beautiful viewers today?
Want to say thank you again for joining us. And remember, you are amazing and you are worth it. And every interaction you have and every relationship that you have is on purpose. So just remember to honor yourself and everyone else. I love you and thank you for being with us today.
And if you have a question that you would like to be brought up on Sit in It, please do send your email to support@livingwholeonpurpose.com. And again, if you want to keep it a confidential, then come up with an alias, whatever your name that you want. And the Sit in It group that's on Facebook, absolutely come in and you can ask any questions there, even during the week while you are there, if you're needing some form of a sit point for guidance to move in from. And one other question I have for all of you, if you would love to comment or get back to me, is I know many of you have been asking if we could have a live that's a 1 or a 2 hour where people can be involved and actually ask questions, and then all of you sit in it and move forward from many of your perspectives. So if that's something that you would love to see live and from distance, because some of you are from all different parts of the world, if this is something that you would like, please let us know by sending an email to support@livingwholeonpurpose.com, letting us know exactly what you're looking for. I love you. I thank you and I honor you all so much. And I am here on purpose. Have the greatest day of your life.